So today we'll do a couple of Brahms waltzes, and I'll pick two waltzes of the one set of waltzes he ever did, which was Opus 39, and he had 16 total. I'm going to pick the two that are the easiest, because some of them are quite difficult. But they're very nice, and they're very much representative of a waltz. And they also give an opportunity to do something a little different. So I'm picking waltz number 3 and number 9 for those that are counting. So I'm going to play them in a very distinct style. So my mother played the piano, and I heard her all the time at home because she played at home. And she played a number of people, and she had a very distinct style. And as it turns out, as I found out, it's a very 19th century. It's like a full-on 19th century style of playing, which you really don't hear much anymore. It's really sort of, once the 20th century started, it gradually got frowned on to play that way. But it's really a full-on 19th century kind of style. So I'm going to play it, or attempt to play it in that kind of way. Because it's a bit different than what you might likely hear. You hear pieces of that style, and everybody's playing to one degree or another. But you may not hear it all sort of like full bore kind of a thing in terms of the stylistic playing. It involves a number of different things that people don't do that much anymore. So things like, they're called dislocation, polymetric playing between the hands, etc. Things that are, you just don't hear much about. At some point I'll do a separate video and just talk about 19th century style playing, because it was a very interesting sort of thing I found out when I started reading about it. But anyway, so I'm going to play that in a very much a 19th century kind of style. And hopefully people will like it, but maybe people won't, that's okay. But rather than play it like a robot, which seems like everybody wants you to play these days. So to give you an example, just a quick example of what you're really listening for, if you play, these days, you can play like a robot, literally, and you don't even need to play like a robot. You can have a computer do it for you. Play what's there on the page and nothing else. And people want to say that that's very authentic, but really it isn't, as I found out. It isn't really. But it is what it is, and people have that sense that these days when you listen to things on the internet, sometimes people will just render it out with a computer, because you can get a robot to play it perfectly. Why would you need somebody to play it then, right? But if you do that, then you get something like, and this is number 3. You get that, and it's nothing wrong with it in and of itself. I have to put my glasses on because I couldn't see the notes. There's nothing wrong with it in and of itself. Tempos, you play with a constant tempo, which if you were playing it as a waltz, like people were really going to dance to it, which you could, then you would want to play it that way, because you wouldn't want to have tempo changes, because if you have tempo changes, people are going to throw their back out trying to dance to it. But you do have to keep a constant tempo if you're going to play it as a real waltz, if people are actually going to a functional piece in that sense. But if you can play it as a concert piece, you don't have to do that. And so, but that's a straightforward rendering, no tempo changes, nothing different than what's on the page, so to speak. But if you want to play like full bore 19th century style of music, then it might go something like this. Quite different. And that is like I said, that's approaching more of a full-on 19th century style of playing, which was common, and which was played not just by pianists playing somebody's work, but by the composers themselves, of their own work. And again, that's a whole separate discussion, which I could go at length on, in terms of how people played and what was expected of people then, as opposed to the 20th century going forward, and the things that happened in between that sort of made that change in terms of how we listen to stuff. But anyway, so that's the kind of thing you're going to be hearing and listening for here when I play these. These aren't long, being waltzes. They aren't terribly long. but it's going to be different, I think, than your average waltz you'll find if you search around on YouTube, where have you, for people playing. You'll find various examples, and to one degree or another, you might hear some of this, but it'll be much more of a modest window of variation, I think, than what you're going to likely hear going forward. Like I said, I grew up with someone who in the house who played this way, and I'm very used to it, and I've heard it, and I have a real affection for it because it's just how I grew up. I thought everybody played piano like that until I found out they didn't. So this is what you're going to hear. So you have Waltz by Brahms, Opus 39. This will be Brahms Waltz number 3 and Waltz number 9.